Today on Locked On Red Wings, we give you the grades for Moritz Seider, Alex Nedeljkovic, and Adam Erne.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I am a podcast producer for the Daily JAWWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And today, like I said in the cold open, we're going to be doing the player grades for Seider, Nedeljkovic, and Adam Erne. We like to, if you guys have noticed a trend, we like to do one fun player, one meh player, and one let's just say two meh players. Let's keep it nice, keep it civil. Scotty, when it comes to Moritz Seider, let's just get right into it. First of all, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Now let's get right into it. We keep saying this tale of two seasons because there are a lot of players on this team who either started hot and cooled off or started cold and then finished hot. Seider is the latter half. He finished this season with 42 points, 5 goals, and 37 assists, which is 2 goals shy of what he set last year in his rookie season, and a good 6 points less than he did, or 6 assists less his rookie season as well, for a total of 42 points compared to his 50 in that first career year with the Detroit Red Wings, in which he won the Calder Trophy. But, so just because I said that very complicated, 50 points his first year, 42 points the second year. A little bit of a step down in production, but I feel like a lot of hockey-minded people would have told you that's a little bit to be expected, as one, the roster had a lot of turnover. You had a new head coach, and he's going into his sophomore season, which is very famously and maybe a little bit superstitiously, but there is some merit to that, a pretty big year for rookies to slide back, is that second year in the NHL. But I think overall he handled it pretty well, Scotty, when it comes to Moritz Seider, who, again, played 82 games. He hasn't missed a single game in his first 2 seasons, which is astounding. What kind of grade are you giving Moritz Seider?
Yeah, this one I feel really, really good about a B. I feel really good about that. I think a lot of people going into the season were like, oh my goodness, look how good the rookie year was. What kind of step forward can he take again? Like what can he put up in year 2? Like, is he going to take another giant leap forward? And if he would have done that, obviously that would have been an A. And we didn't see like the massive step forward necessarily of whether it comes to production or really any grading scale. We didn't see like a different version of him of like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. He just keeps getting better and better and better. But that being said, he still had a really, really nice year. I think he's still in the second half of the season still took took steps forward, even if they weren't huge. And yeah, I think that this was a really, really solid year of, if you were going into the season, if you were like, hey, great step forward would be awesome. But if we can just at the end of year 2 for Seider, look back and just say, you know what, this was a really solid year. We're looking for him to take another step forward, maybe in year 3. And we still feel the same way about him that we did after year 1. And I think he did that. And certainly after, which I'm sure we were going to talk about anyway, especially once he was on a pairing with Jake Walman. Like the first 3 months of the year, when it wasn't him and Jake Walman, he did not have very great production. That pairing was not very great of him and Sherratt, like as far as analytically, except like really any merit or any grading scale. They didn't. They wasn't a very good pairing together, and we were kind of like, man, like Seider just the production's not there. They're getting scored on a lot. That pairing is like, this is kind of weird. And then Jake Walman in January happened, and from then on out, it was an absolute, for both of them, just an electric factory. They both looked way, way better. Walman, I guess, looked good no matter who he was with, but Seider looked way better. And I think from like January through the end of the season, honestly, we really saw the Moritz Seider that we were not only used to from year one, but that we were kind of expecting going into year two. So yeah, not a blow you away. Oh my goodness, this is, he's just transcending into the best defenseman in the league in year two already type of season, but certainly still a nice solid year that you can build upon and take another step forward in year three.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I forgot to actually set the table for how we're grading works in this, right? So I'm supposed to do this at the start of every episode, but it slipped my mind. Again, when we grade these players, we're grading them based on our expectations, Scotty and I's expectations of these players. So not all A's and B's are created equal. So yesterday we gave an A+ to Walman and we've given an A to Dylan Larkin. Those are not the same A's. They're getting A's compared to how our expectations of them. They're battling themselves in our mind. We're not comparing them to other players in the league. Connor McDavid, it would get like an S. So giving Dylan Larkin an A isn't saying that Larkin's close to Connor McDavid. It's just comparing them to themselves and our expectations of what they should be.
Yeah, it's all based on what our expectations going into the year were for each individual player. So
And
very subjective.
It's also incredibly arbitrary because we don't have like a formula. But that being said, I agree with you. I think I'd give Moritz Seider a B as well. And you brought it up. The big thing, the big sticking point was that he early in the season was paired with Ben Sherratt, and they just did not gel whatsoever. And I mean, there's something to be said about like how all-star defensemen are going to look good no matter who they're playing with. But the fact that he's like 21 and he's still, let's be honest, probably he's not to the point yet where he's going to dominate every single pair. He's still so young. And so he played a total of 545 minutes with Ben Sherratt, Scotty, and they had an expected goals for percentage at even strength of 43.59%. They got dominated when they were on the ice. The other team had way more quality shots than the Red Wings did. But then about halfway through the season, that finally changed. Jake Walman got promoted to the top pairing, and Jake Walman and Moritz Seider in 640 minutes together at even strength, so even more than he and Ben Sherratt played, had a expected goals for percentage of 51.34. So when those two were together and on the ice, they had a higher the team had more quality shooting attempts than when they were off the ice, or than against, rather. Comparing that to Ben Sherratt, where they were getting pounded in, it felt like. The Walman-Seider chemistry, again, we talked about the Walman stuff, it can't be understated. And then when it comes to his point totals, that's 8 points less isn't really much to write home about, I feel, because again, with Moritz Seider, it's great that he can get you 50 points. He did that in his rookie season. It's great that he got 42 points. A defenseman who can get you half a point per game is actually pretty damn good, regardless if it's 8 points less than last year. And the other thing too is, Scotty, the production turned on once they split up the pairings. Once Seider paired with Walman, the production absolutely turned on for Moritz Seider. You mentioned it, right? What happened in January? He got scored 12 points in January alone.
Yes. Well, yeah. So if you're going just on like points and we might even take a look at plus minus just because he's a defender, and it's still not a great stat by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly kind of helps paint the picture here. But if we just want to start with points, Moritz Seider had 12. He had 12 points on January 1st. So going into the new year, he had 12 points on the season. Then in January alone, he had 12 points. So he matched his season point total in a month that he had acquired over the first 3 months of the season. And then from then on out, while he didn't have another 12-point month, he had a 6-point month in February, a 9-point month in March, and then a 3-point month in just 7 games in April. So like you're talking about, again, like 11, 12 total points in the first 3 months of the season. And then a significant uptick in point total. What is that, 30-ish? from January on through the end of the year. And that's 3 months plus 7 games in April. So it's almost split right in half. Not quite, a little bit more in the second half. But if you prorate what he did from the Walman switch on over 82, you're talking about more points than last season even. So like that's why I feel really good about the B grade, because if you're just looking at post Walman switch, you're talking about a production uptick offensively that was probably even better than his great rookie year.
And I mentioned the expected goals for percentage once they switched to Walman being, better above 50%, which you want to be, rather than well below 50% when he was with Ben Sherratt, but, plus minus as well. Again, that's a team stat, but I do think it's pretty telling that in those months where he was paired with Ben Sherratt, he was a minus 13. In the months when he was paired with Jake Walman, he was a plus 2. So, I mean, chemistry matters. And I know we spoke very highly of what Jake Walman brought to every defensive pairing that happened. But I think in this case, Moritz Seider brought just as much to the Jake Walman pairing as Jake Walman brought to that pairing. And it was actually that the Ben Sherratt pairing with Moritz Seider, and I don't want to rag too much on Ben Sherratt, was probably making him cover for Ben Sherratt more than he had to. We could spend 2 whole segments on why Moritz Seider deserves the B, and because I agree with you, he gets a B in my book. And we could spend 2 whole segments talking about why the Ben Sherratt pairing didn't work out and why the Jake Walman pairing did work out. And maybe an off-season episode we will talk about that. But for now, I'll wrap up my thoughts and just say that I agree, everything considered, he gets a B because that second half of the season, he played so much better. Honestly, back to, if not better than what we saw last year.
Agreed.
All right. So we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, Scotty, we'll talk about Alexander Nedeljkovic. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know that part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll get back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items, exclusions apply. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, you and I are talking about Alex Nedeljkovic now, and this one is going to be not a fun conversation.
No, it is not.
Alex Nedeljkovic last year with the Detroit Red Wings had a 901 save percentage at the end of the year. He had a great first half and a rocky second half. I think our expectations for him this year was for him to be consistent, prove that the first half goaltender was what he truly was. And we said a lot of things about workload, which I think are valid. I still think are true and may have played a role in why Alex Nedeljkovic last year kind of fell apart. We saw it a little bit with Ville Husso. Workload has a lot to do with it. And both those goaltenders hadn't played a full NHL season as a starting goalie. But this year, he just looked more like the second half goalie in the 15 games that he did manage to play. And at one point was sent down to the AHL. Actually, I think twice that happened. He was sent down to the Griffins to get his game right. He had a conditioning stint, and then he just got sent down outright at one point. And his save percentage this year fell to .895 with a 3.53 goals against and the 13th worst goals saved above expected at negative 6.91. Granted, that sample size is pretty small at 15 in comparison to Elvis Merzlikins at 30, but a negative 26. But it all points to, while this team maybe still wasn't the best defensively, he wasn't helping the situation either. Scotty, when you're talking about Nedeljkovic, what kind of grade are you giving him?
I find it, based on our criteria, which is expectations going into the season, I find it pretty much impossible to not give him an F. Yeah, I mean, we we can go back and listen to our preseason, expectations for the season and what we wanted to accomplish this year and what we thought of this hockey team. And one of the points that we continued to reiterate was how good the ceiling of this goalie duo was, and how if we got like really, really good Ned with an improved defense, still not a great defense, but an improved defense in front of him, he could really show out and be solid. And I mean, at one point we were talking about Ned still being the 1A goalie on this team in August. Like that was that was not a foregone conclusion. Like obviously, and it ended up being one, but like at least we forget that there was a legitimate point leading up to the season when we were trying to figure out who was going to get the more reps in net between the two of Husso and Ned. And so, this was an absolute like failure as far as if you're basing it off of what we expected out of him going into the season. You're talking about the difference between we have our goalie tandem locked up for the next couple of seasons to the reality, which is Ned's not going to be on this team. He didn't even make it through the season. And as well, I mean, he came back eventually, but you get what I'm saying. And now this offseason, he is not part of the Red Wings' future plans whatsoever. Like that's a foregone conclusion. And everybody is trying to figure out who the second goalie next fall is going to be, and it's no one in this maybe entire organization right now.
Yeah, I mean that's another big part of it. Is this was a contract year for him. So, and a lot of times in contract years, it's not a foregone conclusion either. Is that players tend to have some of their best seasons because they're trying to earn a contract, and he went out there and was more than underwhelming. It's like it was a downright disappointing season from somebody who I was really excited about. And you're right. Our expectations for him was not only to solidify that the first half of last year was what he really was, but that he and Ville Husso could maybe sneakily be the best tandem in the NHL. Not the best, but one of the best tandems in the NHL. And from game one, it just wasn't really there, it felt like. I think that first game he played was a 5-3 victory over the New Jersey Devils. The Devils didn't have a lot of shots in that game, if I recall. And then out there,
that was the weird game where, they dominated the possession. And that's where we kind of early on saw the writing on the wall of like everything. And we were like, I don't know how we won that hockey game, but we'll take it.
And it never really came together for him. He put up a good game here and there, like the game against Carolina, for instance. I was at that game at LCA.
He always plays Carolina well.
He plays them hard. But it's just not consistent enough. And the what was it? What did I say? His 8.55 or whatever.
Yeah.
8.95 save percentage is just not going to cut it, even as a backup in the NHL. Especially if a team's trying to like win a Stanley Cup, you need a guy who can get you at least 900. So I don't know. It's disappointing for sure. And I'm right there with you. It's got to be an F. And I just hate giving players Fs, but there's just no.
For the record, just so that we can really highlight this, his career numbers against the Carolina Hurricanes. Wow. He has played them 5 times and has a .930 save percentage.
Yeah, that sounds about right. He plays crazy good against the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't know what it is. Well, I know exactly what it is. He's probably got
career .907 save percentage for what it's worth, and a goals against average of 2.96, so just under 3. But the Hurricanes, he has a .930 and a 2.4. So
and his issues are a lot of the same issues that Magnus Hellberg has, where it's an over-reliance on athleticism to try and bail him out of situations where he put
aggressive a lot too. Yeah,
that exactly is what my point is. Like, he is just overly aggressive in the net, and he would have to rely on athleticism to try and get back into position. A lot of times it wouldn't happen, and there were some soft goals here and there too. But so did Husso and Hellberg. They all had the soft goals this season,
certainly.
And this was a better team. Like, that's the crazy part. Like, last year, he put a 901 save percentage up, and we were like, okay, first year, full workload. This defense outside of Seider's ass. Well, this year, you got an improved defense. You got Oli Mata, who I know we gave like a C+, but most of you guys gave a B, which I'll talk about how you guys are voted in segment 3 here. But you got Walman. You got Ben Sherratt, who, love him or hate him, is an upgrade over most of the defenders you had last season. Osterley was still reliable. Haig was okay. He was okay. But it's just, this is an improved defensive core, and your numbers got worse. So it's just hard to give anything but an F. I hate doing it, but it's hard to do anything but. So I'm putting polls out there, guys, now on Twitter, and I will catch you up on what you guys voted on our previous episodes at the end of segment 3. But for our purposes right now, you guys voted Alex Nedeljkovic, and there's still, as of right now, there's still time left to vote. Even as this airs at midnight, there's still time left to vote. But right now, with 76 votes, 52% of you have given Alex Nedeljkovic a D, and 43% of you have given him a C. Now, because it's a Twitter poll, you can only have 4 options, so I couldn't add F. And also, you can't add nuances like C+ and D-. So this is a little less nuanced than what we grade players. But most of you guys are giving them
removed
a right, and just gone B, C
on there, and then said, if you vote A, please explain yourself.
Yeah, because most of them it says if F, explain below. This one it could have been like if A, explain below. So most of you guys have voted D right now, but again, take that with a grain of salt because of the fact that you can only do 4 options.
Yeah, that wasn't an option.
For what it's worth, Moritz Seider, you guys have voted 55% B. So you're in line with Scotty and I on that poll. That's 142 votes. 39% have given him an A. So if you kind of average that out, you're like a B+.
Yeah,
range.
B+. Yeah.
And you know what? For what it's worth, the Alex Nedeljkovic one, 43% said C. So really, that's like a D+.
Yeah, reality. But again, F wasn't an option.
F wasn't an option, but it just seems like if people are still voting C, then he might have still passed on the eyes of most people.
Yeah, but that average gets weighed down a lot if there's some Fs in there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Scotty, we'll head to segment 3, and when we come back, we'll talk about Adam Erne, the dog.
The dog.
So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, Adam Erne. You know what's funny is when we were about to record, I looked you in the eyes and I go, what were even our expectations for Adam Erne this season? Like, how do you, that he's going to be really hard to grade because I can't even recall what our expectations for Adam Erne was. And I think that is what the expectation was. Yeah. It's just like, be a body.
Correct. Yeah. Well, and you know, I don't think anyone was going into the season and was expecting like a huge point total from Adam Erne, but I don't like just be a body, I guess. I don't, that kind of has a negative connotation, but like for this team when it's injury woes, like it certainly wasn't. You know, we got playing time out of Erne, which is more than a lot of other people could say. But the biggest thing for me, and the reason why I am going to go with a C+ for Adam Erne, is because this team had 0 physicality. And Adam Erne should not be your most physical player on your team. That is not good. But I'll be darned if he wasn't. So all respect to Adam Erne. What do you have, like 12 points?
No, he had 18, which is just 18, too shy of his. He's actually been very consistent across his career. He's been a 15 to 20 point player like almost every single year.
So there you go. He did exactly what he is in line to do year in and year out as far as points total go. Almost had a 10-10 season. There you go. A couple of goals away from that. And yeah, actually gave this team, again, like not high-end, like insane enforcer levels of physicality, but like we always joke, like led the team in hits. Like when he was up there the entire season, like he at least provided something that this team lacked, and at least tried to be. I mean, he toward the end of the season got in a little scuffle there. I think I'm feeling pretty good about a C+, like point total and production, exactly what we're used to, and provided a little bit of something that the team really lacked, no matter how effective or ineffective it was.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a C, just a straight C. because most of the reasons why you said the same thing, but for me, he's exactly what you expected. His point totals were the same, playing bottom six. He plays with an edge. Like you said, leads the team in hits. There were times where he was the odd man out and got sent down to Grand Rapids in favor of other players who could maybe make the team better. He was the second worst player on the team in all the possession metrics. So he had a 40% expected goals for percentage at even strength, which is brutal. So when he was on the ice, the team got shot on more than shot the puck, which is not great when you want to win hockey games.
Correct.
But this is a bottom six winger. Like, I'm not going to overly criticize and critique Adam Erne for doing exactly what you expect Adam Erne to do. And this was, I believe, the final year of his contract as well. So I would be surprised if they bring him back with the amount of guys that they have about to come up.
I can't imagine they do.
But you know what? He's a C because he gave you exactly what you expected out of Adam Erne. This was an Adam Erne season all the way through. And I love him to death for, again, there is a little bit of a negative connotation by saying he's a body, but we were just kind of joking with that. He exactly gave you what you needed.
You got what you signed up for.
Yes, which was Adam Erne.
Which was Adam Erne.
And you got Adam Erne.
Dang right.
Yeah, that was a quick, easy breakdown. Scotty,
did you read what the people said for Erne?
Let's do that. Adam Erne, 45% say he gets a D, 44% says he gets, 44 says he gets a D, 45% says he gets a C. So 1% difference between C and D. For what it's worth, he does have 4% A votes.
Yeah, because that's the dog.
Yeah. Also, right now, the votes sit at 69, so I can't not mention that, but because I'm a child.
You are a child, yep.
But correct. I guess that would average out to be like, a C minus? It's pretty evenly split between C and D for him.
Yeah.
But
well, again, I'm our grading scale again is based off preseason expectations, and everybody's going to have their own arbitrary way of grading everybody in their own head. That doesn't equate to that. So yeah, I mean, obviously he had 18 points. Like obviously that's not he's not setting the world on fire production wise. But I think if you're going based on what you expected out of him going into the year, I think it's pretty hard to go lower than a C. You got pretty much exactly what you signed up for.
Absolutely. So let's go over what you guys voted the players get graded from our previous episodes. I'm just going to kind of rapid fire this off here for you. Dylan Larkin with 155 votes, 69% of you voted A, and 27% voted B, 4% voted C. So A wins by a landslide, which is correct. Anyone who disagrees is wrong. Objectively, Dylan Larkin gets an A. Magnus Hellberg, 52% of you voted C, 39% of you voted D. Those are the two highest picked ones. So I would probably say around a C minus. Again, F wasn't an option, but I think we gave him a D. So that's fair.
Yeah. I think I did B plus and you did D, if I remember correctly.
So C wins for Magnus Hellberg, according to you guys. Gustav Lindstrom, 80% of you gave a D. And again, F was not an option. So maybe that would have been different if F was an option. But 80% of you guys voted D
it would have been.
For Gustav Lindstrom. I really wish they would let you have 5 options so you could do A, B, C, D, F. But they don't let you. Thanks, Elon. Philip Zadina. Philip Zadina, 56% of you gave him a C, while 35% of you guys gave him a D. So a little bit more forgiving than Scotty and I were on that. Scotty gave him a C minus. Yeah, Scotty gave him a C minus. I gave him a D.
Yeah.
Dominic
Even though you're the Zadina guy of the two of us.
Well, I'm a Zadina rooter. I root for him, but I'm also objective, or I try to be objective. Sometimes I'm not, but I try to be. Dominic Kubalik, 70% of you gave him a B. That is a B if I've ever seen one. Yeah. 23% of you said C. That was the second most picked result. And that is in line with what we gave him. We both gave him solid Bs. So yeah, right in line with what we thought. Oli Mata, 66% of you guys thought Oli Mata deserved a B, while 23% of you thought he deserved an A, the second most picked option. So, but with 66% being a B, that's like a solid B. So people are a little bit more happy with Oli Mata's season this year than we were, which is perfectly fair and valid, I think.
I mean we openly admitted that was kind of a tough one to defensemen in general I think are a little more difficult, but I think Mata was a really weird kind of like Nebs and Flow season. So yeah.
Well, and a lot of I read the comments and people brought up some really good points as to why you should grade him higher, and I can't disagree. It's all arbitrary and subjective, right? So if you want to give him a B, that's
There's
fair.
nothing I love more than hearing the viewpoint of someone that disagrees with me on like something like that.
As long as it's like,
well, yeah, be respectful. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole point. But yeah, like that's fascinating to me. So yeah, absolutely.
Somebody calls Scotty an effing idiot, and he goes, "Thank you, I appreciate that opinion."
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Jake Walman. This was like the biggest consensus out of anyone. 90% of you voted A.
Wow.
10% of you voted B. No one voted below that.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
That A+ is staying strong.
Yeah.
Joe Veleno got 51% B and 41% C. That one actually surprises
me a little bit. Yeah.
I was actually kind of astounded he got a B, and I don't know if that's because, again, you couldn't vote F, so maybe some of those votes would have gone elsewhere. But with only 5% going to D,
I would imagine.
Feels like
I don't think anyone was going F. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like B is probably what he was going to get, and that does surprise me.
Yeah,
and then Alex Chason, the final guy we did yesterday. You guys were split on Chason. So get this, Scotty. He got 37% B, 37% C, 22% A, and 4% D. So the same percentage.
All over the board.
Yeah, I mean, if we're trying to be 37% got B, 37% got C, the same amount. But because 22% got A, we'll lift that average up a little bit and say he got a B- by you guys.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there, I think, would be the average. Yeah.
And both of us gave him a, what was it? I have it written down.
I think B plus B.
B plus for you, B for me.
Yeah.
And both of us, for the record, gave Veleno a C-.
Yeah.
So that was how you guys voted in this episode. Scotty, NFL draft.
I'm nervous. I mean, by the time the people are listening to this, day one's going to be over. So
I don't know who they should take. I don't know. I don't want them to take a cornerback. I really don't want them to take a cornerback.
They might.
At six, I don't want them.
They really like that Witherspoon kid from Illinois. If we get Will Anderson, I'm crying. Like if Will Anderson falls to 6, I'm bawling. I just got a thing while we were on air here that the Titans are trying to trade up to 3 now, which could open the door for like almost all quarterbacks like taken. Well, 4 or 5 positions like quarterbacks taken before us, which would kind of open the door for Will Anderson to get drafted here. I know a lot of people have concerns about Jalen Carter. It's going to be a heck of a night. Some GM said he expects it to be one of the most unpredictable and like wild drafts ever. So,
I mean, Houston is like got minus odds on Will Anderson, so I don't think you're gonna. Again, those could be wrong, but usually there's 3. I think I heard on the radio.
They're
on the way
definitely
home.
going to be in the running for a quarterback, though.
The Lions? You think at 6?
Who? You said the Texans.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying the Lions were going to go after a quarterback.
Oh no, I mean that's like not completely off the table, but no, I don't think they're going for a quarterback.
No. Not at 6, I don't think.
They'd have to, trade up, or like Richardson falls to 6, and they're just like, yeah, we like him.
Yeah,
but I don't see that happening.
All right, Scotty. Any final thoughts?
We ball.
We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Monday.
There you go.
I'm in a habit. That's what I'm in right now. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.